Hey folks, Bridges here. This is part two of the hammer and peg toy assembly. In the previous video, we brought in both ends of the toy. We brought in the middle of the toy. We actually manipulated and rotated one of the ends on one of its axes, and we also did the same with the middle part. And we also, don't forget, we inserted these McMaster car components from the online shop. Okay, we downloaded the 3D SAT files. So what I want to do now is I want to put them all together using some joints. All right. If you remember back to the joints part one practice, we've got 6 or 7 different types of joints that we can make, and we're going to practice them now. Mostly being if you think about it, we don't really need any sort of degrees of freedom or motion when this thing's all together. Nothing is twisting or sliding or anything like that. So it's all going to be somewhat rigid. Okay. So to do that, we're going to insert these pegs into the holes right up here, right? And we're going to use a cylindrical fit there, or we could probably use a rigid fit as well, honestly. And we're going to do the same with the 2 pegs down here on the other end. And then finally, we're going to use the bolts to go through the countersink holes, okay, and into the tapped hole on the end of the middle piece. So let's do it. Let's start putting it together. We're going to use the joint button here, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to pick the top middle of one of the pegs. So choose the top middle of the peg. Oh, you know what? I forgot to choose the motion, didn't I? Let's see if rigid works. So yeah, I just tested it out. Rigid will work, so that's going to be just fine. So we will use the rigid joint type, which is by default what's selected, and that's great. And we'll just use on the position tab, we'll select the center of the top of the dowel pin, and we want to seat it in the bottom of this hole, which I can't see from my current point of view. So I'm going to go ahead and move my view cube until I can see the bottom center of that hole. And it looks like maybe right there I can. Okay, now make sure you're not getting the top of the hole. That's not what we want. We want the down in deep in the hole. Choose that center point. Okay, and there it gives us our pin fastened in there. That looks nice, doesn't it? So yep, we'll say okay, and we'll repeat that process. So I'm gonna pause the video after I do the second one, and I'll pick it back up after I've got all 4 constrained. All right, so again, one more time, joint. Let's choose the top center of the peg, and let's go change our angle just a bit to where we can drop it in to the bottom of that hole on the center of it, right there. Okay, now if it happens to put it in backwards, don't forget you've got this handy dandy flip button right here, okay? And that flips it around and makes it go the other way. Mine looked like it came in there right the first time, so I'm going to re-click that flip button back to the normal, and then I'll click OK after each time. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to seat the 2 more pegs in there, and then I'll pick it back up. All right, so I've got all 4 pegs inserted into their corresponding holes. One thing I didn't say, but you may have noticed, I had to zoom really far in to find the center of those holes, and that's fine. That's a totally fine way to do it. I'm just going to repeat the process now and constrain the end of the peg now into the end of the corresponding holes on the wooden middle part. Okay, so I'll do that once and then pause the video and let you continue that on your own. So again, you know what? Maybe I won't pause the video because you're going to want to see the second one happening once I've got the first one. So I'm going to choose the middle of this peg. And again, I'm going to move my view cube around to where I can see where I want to go. And you can move parts if you need to. Oh, you know what? I clicked the wrong thing. So when that happens, just press escape or press cancel. Now, it is a little frustrating. I need to go back and find the end of my peg again here. The shortcut hotkey for joint is J. So I click the J button. I click the end of my peg here. And then I want to rotate around until I can see. Okay, I've lost myself again here. And right there is where I want it to go, in the bottom of the hole. Now it wants to move it away from the wooden part and away from the green part and into the wooden part. Okay, but since the two are connected already, when I click OK, it should go with it. It should all fall into place. And you can see what it did here was it made the other one automatically go. Now there's no constraint there. Ooh, look, we got a problem. No problem. It looks okay. It looks great, actually. All right. So I'll do the same thing on the other side. Let me go back to my home view. I'm going to move just a little bit. I'm going to I'm going to tap the J key to make a joint. I'm going to choose the end of my peg and then pay attention to where it's going. It's going into the nearer of the two holes on the wooden part. And I'm going to rotate where I can see it. And I want to zoom in, and right there is where I want it to go. Remember, it's not going to go by itself like that. The green end cap should go with it when I click OK. And it does. Now it looks like we're all constrained here. Okay, what happens is when I move one, it moves the others. But look, I must not have drilled my holes deep enough because there's a gap there. Okay, I think my pin is too long. That's okay. What we can do on the fly, we can go back into our wooden centerpiece and we can make those holes be a little bit deeper. All right, this is great. I'll go ahead and save my progress here. Okay. And what I can do is go back over to my middle part right here, and I can locate wherever those holes are using my hole feature. Okay, looks like right there is one set, and there's the other set right there. Those two holes, I want to edit them. So I want to right click on the hole, edit feature, and I just want to make those holes a bit deeper. So right now they're at 0.56 inches, which is what I told you. So let's see here. What do we want to make them be? So it looks like I need to change the depth of this hole to be 0.69. On this side, this is on one end, and if I go down to the other end, I'll edit that hole, and I'll make them be the same depth, 0.69, right there, and say OK. Now, here's the magic of Fusion 360. When I save this file, I click OK. When I go back to my assembly, it didn't change. But notice, up in the top of the menu, there's a little yellow triangle that says one component is out of date. That's the wooden piece. If you click the yellow triangle, it should update the part. And look at that. It's updated it to fit, and everything fits nice and tight there. Okay, that's great. There's only two more joints that we need to make, and yes, you've guessed it, we need to seat these screws, machine screws, down into their countersunk holes. Should be pretty simple here, folks. If we've made our hole size right, let's go ahead and try using a cylindrical joint this time. I take that back. We're not going to use the cylindrical. I just tried it out, and I think upon further investigation, what we're looking for here is a snug fit where everything stays in place after you tighten it down. So we're going to go ahead and just go with a rigid constraint for today. So let's finish up the process here by clicking on Joint or typing the J key. And what we want to line up in this case is the top, and I'm zooming in, the top center of the head of the screw. Now, be careful you don't select one of these inside portions of the hexagon socket. What we want to do is rest and click on the flat top of the screw one time, and that will allow us to now move over and click on the center point with that little circle-ish looking color thing. So now once we've got the center point of that, by the way, you might want to check that your motion is still rigid, and it is. So now we've selected the top center of that top face of the screw, and we'll come in here and we will now select the top center of this countersunk hole right there. Now look, that is not exactly what we want, is it? This is backwards, and this is a great opportunity for you to check out that flip button right here. So we can just flip that face, and look, it's almost all the way in the hole. We might just use the offset arrow and just place it in just a little bit until it looks like it's lined up. There's probably a mathematical equation or formula that gets us there. And as a matter of fact, there is a way to do it on Fusion that has something called contact sets, but we're not going to get into that advanced stuff just yet. All right. I'll go ahead and do the other joint with you just as a repeat in case you missed the first time. We're going to go joint. We're going to zoom into the top of the head of the screw, and we're going to click on the top flat surface one time. That will allow us to stay in that plane and come in here and select with our colorful origin marker. We'll click on the middle point of that. And when it grays the screw out, that means it's ready for you to select component 2, which is the green piece. I do need to move my point of view here just a bit. And it flipped it over on me, and that's okay. I'll just zoom in, and then when I get that little marker, let me angle my view just a bit. When I get that marker right there, I don't want to be in the center hole that's inside there. I want to be on this top surface right here. So you can do the same thing. You can click on the outer surface and then click on the center button just like that. And it's another one of those, it's the wrong way. So I'll again click the flip button, which puts the screw where it needs to be. And then I'll just offset it just a bit. You can see there's a little gap there. I'll just drop it down in just a hair, something like 0.04. And ladies and gentlemen, that looks pretty good from where I sit. There were a couple of little issues, like I didn't have the hole depth correct on the middle part, but luckily we were able to use that as a learning moment and go back and adjust on the fly, and it looks like it's all come together nice and neat. Now, if you've done it correctly, it should be that you grab any one of the parts and the other ones go along with because of our joints. That's pretty cool. Hopefully this video was helpful, and hopefully you can get it, your assembly put together with a little bit of help. So if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thank you.